Today, I'm gonna take you with me to the middle of the desert to take the Extreme Close Quarter Concepts course by Shivworks. Now, I know that was a lot of words, but for short, it's ECQC, so from now on, we're just gonna call it that. This has to be the most realistic self-defense course I have ever taken, and it also happened to be my very first, and that's because this is actually my third ECQC. For the first two I took, I had to stay focused and engaged because there's just so much good information, and I was there primarily to be a student. Now, don't get me wrong, for this one, I was also a student, but I was there to capture not only what we did on each day, days 1 through 3, but I also had the chance to interview 2 students as well as all 3 instructors under Shivworks, Craig Douglas himself, Brian Frias, and Scotty Oates. As I said, ECQC stands for Extreme Close Quarter Concepts. I remember in my first ECQC, I thought there would be a focus on marksmanship, right? If you're going to have to defend yourself with a firearm, then aren't we gonna be working out to like 20 yards? Well, that's not the case. You'll find if you go take this course, which I hope you'll want to by the end of this video, that marksmanship actually matters very little. The ultimate focus of this course is human behavior, proximity, and decision-making under pressure. The purpose of this vlog is to show you what this class actually looks like and so that you can determine if it's for you. This course prepares you for real-world encounters in the 0 to 5 foot range. If you're thinking, well, that's a really short distance to be training in, just know that that is where the majority of self-defense encounters have. It's very rare that a guy 20 yards when he's gonna come sprinting in and attack you. People usually talk their way into your space and then try to take advantage of you. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into these 24 hours of training spread across 3 days. Day 1 is all about managing unknown contacts. Shivworks refers to this as mucking. So if you hear me say mucking, it stands for, again, managing unknown contacts. The class starts out by Craig going around and asking everyone their background briefly, as well as what they hope to get out of the course. After the instructors introduce themselves, we move into the importance of verbal skills in a self-defense encounter. The purpose of mucking is to elevate your awareness before violence. It's also to give you social literacy and decision-making before things might have to go physical. Note that on day 1, you are only using your words. If you're thinking, well, that's crazy, I'm going there to learn wrestling and shooting, fear not, day 2 and 3 have plenty of those things. Our voice is a tool that often goes untrained. I remember my first ECQC, I was like, whoa, I have to speak up. I have to actually like tell someone to get back. And then I thought, okay, well, that can't be too hard. And I was rudely awakened. It is a tool you have to train just like a firearm or a blade. Day 1 sets the framework for the rest of the weekend. It puts everything in context, in other words. If you've ever seen a horror movie and the person getting attacked just walks themselves into a corner and then they end up getting, like stabbed or hurt, well, that's real life. That is our natural instinct. If someone is approaching us, for us to kind of back ourselves into a corner. So the first thing we do on day 1 is we learn how to walk. Craig teaches to walk in a arc-like fashion in order to prevent getting yourself cornered, which would ultimately, of course, not allow you to see what is around you, whether that be something you could trip over or another attacker. We then get into verbals. This spans across asking someone to get out of your space, if they do not respect your ask, moving into telling someone to get out of your space, and then, if you have to, into the make portion of the ask, tell, make spectrum. This is a technique used with civilian, law enforcement, and military when it comes to the verbal side of training. So Craig has taken this and developed his very own curriculum around this. On day 1, there is no live fire, there's no handling of firearms. It is simply the use of your voice as well as some minimal striking and, of course, movement. Day 2, after the safety briefing, you will jump straight onto the range. Gosh, why can't I need to just increase wide. We're here at day 2 ECQC. This is the first part of the day. So we're actually out on the range shooting. This portion goes over everything from the establishing grip on your pistol correctly, making sure we're not scooping the gun out and building our grip as we go, all the way to the practice of retention shooting, which is essentially the technique for shooting or engaging with your firearm when someone is close enough to put a hand on you, right? Because at that point, if we present our firearm, it then becomes a fight over the gun. So we establish this in dry fire and live fire so that later when we get out and we do some wrestling combatives on the ground, with those sim helmets and the sim guns, we know what we're doing by then. let's get my ear pro off for a sec. I've got my Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. I have 2 extendo mags. That's gonna be a total of, I should know this, 12 rounds plus 1 of course. And then I have my standard mag. I haven't even touched yet. I'm kind of nervous about it since I have pretty large hands, but this 2.0 is so compact. It's a 380 guys, but it's still a defensive round. Especially nowadays, we have so many more resources out there to make 380 a viable solution for a concealed carry caliber. So I'm really excited about this gun. Note that I did not get the comped or ported version. I think right now there's really only a comped version, but if you think about kind of doing retention shooting, right, it's going to kind of disperse the gases, and I don't want to do that when the gun is this close to my side. So I did not get the comped version. It's insane how kind of cheap and capable it is, and I was excited to bring it to this course because oftentimes, like my first ECQC, I brought a Glock 19 and that was great. And then I kind of got to where I was like, I want something a little bit more compact. I switched over to the 43X, which as you know is the more compact version of the 19. And then for my second ECQC, I had my X macro and I was like, damn, this still feels kind of big. I'm really excited about this because it is so compact. It's so popular right now too. So many people are jumping on that bandwagon. I get a lot of questions from followers, from the women and just people that I train. How do I feel about it? And so I thought the best way to give you all an honest answer is to bring it to ECQC. This is the first very long physical and technical day. This is where you will be introduced to retention shooting. If you've never done that, this is what it looks like. And while it looks kind of scary, it is the most applicable style of draw that you would be able to use in a situation where someone is already encroaching on that 0 to 5 foot range. Now, we're not going to keep our gun in the retention position as we create space, right? We need to present that firearm, and that is what we go into on the range with Shivworks. Of course, this is spread across day 1 and day 2. Something I really like about the way Craig has structured his classes is that he put the firearms portion in the very beginning of the day, so that whenever you have a little bit less bandwidth, we're not handling firearm. After day 2's live fire, you will move into the foundations of wrestling in a weapons-based environment. Now, while all of the Shivworks Collective has their black belt and up in Jiu-Jitsu, they primarily focus on Greco-Roman wrestling. The way it was explained to me as to why wrestling has such a large place in this class is because the idea is to stay upright and conscious, and wrestling, the movements specific to wrestling, contribute to that goal. After a long day of getting into in-fight weapons access, we move to the ground. Note that in this video, we're working with Pacific time in the desert, guys. It got dark quick, but that does not stop the Shivworks Collective in training you for real-world readiness. That is such a hard thing to say. It's getting dark. So right now we're doing simulation training for the first time. So we're actually using pistols that shoot out sim rounds. They're basically like paint cartridges. They do hurt, they don't scar, and they wash out, so that's nice. We're doing 3-minute rounds with the helmet on the person who could potentially get shot. So we're doing in-fight weapons access. And yeah, this is the second to last part of the day before we do an evolution. And yeah, everyone's a little bit tired, but this is where things get really fun. So yeah, check it out. Now it's my turn. Got the sim gun here. So I'm gonna try to access it. He's gonna give me resistance at 50%, so.
Good move.
If you've ever heard that a lot of fights end up on the ground, that is the purpose of this bit of the training. If you're looking at this video footage and thinking, well, I could never do this because I have no background in Jiu-Jitsu, something I really like about the way the Shivworks Collective teaches is that they don't just give you a technique to respond to another technique. For example, if someone grabs your left wrist, do this, right? It's all about setting the foundation to get to an optimal position, puts you in a dominant position in order to not only protect yourself in general, but make sure you have the upper hand for weapons access, being able to access your own weapon, as well as ensuring the attacker in this scenario isn't able to access their own. Day 2 is also the first time you will see what is called an evolution. Okay, so we just did our first round of evolutions. That's where we put everything into context. Craig assigns 3 people, 1 of 3 roles. You are either the person with the gun that is the good guy, you are the bad guy approaching the good guy with the gun, or you are someone being held off to the side as a tertiary person, and then your role is kind of undetermined until Craig decides, who goes in. Of course, Brian and Scotty also participate in choosing the group of 3 to make sure like the strength and size proportions are either equal or, advantageous to the lesson they're trying to teach. And then you're responsible for running the scenario with the tools that you've learned in the class. My scenario was a little interesting. Jesse approached me and he kind of came up as this kind of drunk dude who was kind of hitting on me in a way and kind of being like, hey girl, and I hate to admit that this is a scenario that has absolutely happened to me. And what I learned from this is to set stronger verbal boundaries, give a little bit more space with my commands, hey, back up.
I'm a black belt.
We can talk while you're right there. Instead of kind of having this monologue over their monologue, right? It's not a true dialogue with boundaries. I know that we learned eye jabs, but one of my more natural tendencies is to palm since I train palms, Anytime I teach women, students, any striking, I tend to go in with palms because we're not used to using our knuckles and training knuckles on, say, wood or something tougher than our bone to give them that durability they need in order to land a punch and not injure ourselves. So palm's really natural for me. Jesse mentioned it actually kind of threw him back, but it really just kind of went to shit from there. I even mentioned in my evolution that I kind of blacked out, guys. Like I hardly remember. I know at one point he picked me up and controlled the descent, and that was really cool. I appreciate that he was able to kind of measure his reaction. I learned so much, not only from my own evolution, but from watching what other people do. It really gives you insight to the way people think about situations that can become combative. Something really great about the evolutions is one might think that this is a place where you put everything in, right? You're definitely gonna draw your gun. You're definitely gonna, hey, get back, but something really great about the way Craig has built this template for these simulations as much as he can, right? We all do our weird things. It's not like he wants us to do that. He wants us to do what is actually appropriate. And you can see as you watch the evolution, some people kind of, because we're in the scenario in the middle of the desert and we've been training all day, they have that heuristic to kind of run towards that violence or kind of become combatant kind of early on. But they do a really good job at making us think about why we chose to do what we do. If we chose to pull our gun, why did we choose that? Being able to articulate that not only here, but hopefully never, but eventually if it has to happen on the street, being able to articulate that to your peers, to a jury is so important. So next we're moving into weapons retention, and then we're gonna go into a second round in evolution and vehicle fighting. It's about to get really dark, so bear with me. Otherwise, guys, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. This is where I'm bringing my long-term content. I'm really excited to bring more content in 2026. Everything from gun reviews to things like this, going to courses and giving you guys kind of a vlog style review so that you can determine if it's a course for you. All right, let's get to weapons retention. Check out the sunset.
See the difference? Switch your feet.
All right, we're going to the ground now.
Get on him, hit him. Nice pinch, be heavy. Punch of you. Devon Lane, big bridge. Make some space. Nice bridge, good. Gotta get out of there. Push her away. Shoulder, pushing the shoulder. Pushing the shoulder. Bridge.
You punch your feet.
Bridge. Oh, nice. Bridge. Trapping bridge. Octopus guard. Trapping bridge.
Punch your feet. You punch it.
Push the new guy into some big bridge. Trap a limb, trap the leg and bridge. Trap and bridge. There you go. Now get out of there. Now get out. Open her leg. Open the leg. Open the leg.
Get up.
Break. Nice job.
It is so dusty. We back up. Let's go into day 3 now. That was the first round of evolutions. Tomorrow will be our second round of evolutions. Wait for it. And it's gonna be a good one. Day 3 is that day that you are just absolutely exhausted, but you're so proud of yourself for getting through day 2 that you're like, okay, let's go. Tell us the difference between day 1 and day 2 of the firearms portion of ECQC.
The firearms.
The firearms portion.
The firearms portion is going to build on the skills that we developed on day 1. So day 1, we worked on refining our draw to work in crowded, confined space. Then we dialed in our thumb pectoral index to make sure you can do that live fire. We then validated it with the force on force sims. Today, we're going to focus on collecting the pistol properly into two-handed shooting, working from a 3, which is the transition between retention and full extension. So we're going to make sure that this is now a functional shooting position. That's going to be the first drill. Then we're actually going to do a crowded table drill, which is a low round count drill, but it's really, really valuable and pretty high anxiety because you're going to have people to your left, to your right, and behind you with a table, a high horizontal obstruction that you have to get the gun out, present, and take a single shot. So we're hyper critical of how the gun moves and where the barrel's oriented. So it's pretty high anxiety, low round count, but has a huge value. And then our final little piece of development is how do we get from an active fending position where we're covering our head so we don't get knocked out with the thumb pectoral and then collect into two-handed shooting and extend. So how do we do that? Which is a lot more realistic than having our hand on our chest. This is how you start to learn it. This is much more realistic. My hand would be covering my head or possibly a head grabbing onto you. So how do we go from here to here without shooting our own hand? So that'll be the final piece.
This is the day where you will jump into those full evolution scenarios. So essentially you'll go into a circle and there will be 3 of you. One person is the good guy, another person is the bad guy, and then there's a third person that's either kind of like a civilian standing by to either help out the good guy or the bad guy. And all of these scenarios are made to represent what might actually happen in real life. Something I really want to clarify is this isn't an opportunity to just beat down on someone. There are scenarios, there are evolutions where people leave unscathed. They don't actually end up taking anyone down or pointing their gun at anyone. In fact, if a gun is ever pulled out, we go into a thorough discussion on why that decision was made. This is truly the most contextual class out there. Everything you do is measured and discussed. The evolutions are designed to expose gaps in knowledge as well as reinforce your decision making. ECQC truly meets students where they are. Now, note that you can't be completely new to firearms when you're walking out on the line. Hopefully you've at least had 1 or 2 professional firearms courses because you shouldn't be struggling with things like keeping your finger on the trigger or not really even knowing how to operate your own firearm, but it will take you from an intermediate to a very advanced intermediate place afterwards because a lot of the concepts are going to be new to you. Retention shooting is not something that is easy to find when it comes to instructors in this industry. The point of this course, as our instructor said, is to get you home safer. It's not so that you can come and smash someone and compete or to dominate someone. It's just to get you home. If you're curious about close range self-defense, human behavior under stress, and bridging the gap between awareness and physical response, I say go ahead and sign up. ECQC is also offered virtually, so if you want to take their online course and check it out that way before committing to a full class, that is a great way to kind of branch into this type of training. I'll link their website below as well as their products group page. That's where you're going to find things like their blades, which they also teach in a course called Edged Weapon Overview or EWO. I highly recommend you check that out. Otherwise, guys, I'm gonna close this video out by showing you my car fight. Yep, that's right. Talk about extreme close quarter concepts because they put you in a car with a helmet and a sim gun and yeah, you basically just gotta fight your way through. So anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.